Hello and welcome back to the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast with me, your host Ryan, the founder of Rocket SaaS, and I am back in the studio with my main man, Jamie. Welcome back.
Nice, but good to be back.
Good.
Yeah.
You know the cafe downstairs where we meet and get a coffee occasionally? Have you ever chatted to the bloke down there?
Every now and again, he's very friendly. He's like super friendly, yeah.
Have you asked him what he does at the weekend?
No. I get my coffee and I go.
I asked him today, I said, well, what are you up to this weekend? And he had this like smirk on his face. And he was like, well, I'm just doing some woodwork in the shed.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so what are you working on? And then he did this pause and this cheeky grin came on his face. He was like, I'm making whips. and me being the naive marketer that I am, I was like, oh, what, for like horses and that? And he was like, no, dominatrixes.
Jeez.
And then I didn't really know what to say. So I just said, you got any photos?
I thought, because I was sitting on the other end of the cafe, I thought I heard something. I couldn't hear what you were saying. I was like, it sounds like a weird conversation though.
He got his phone out and he showed me these like 3 meter long dominatrix whips that he's making. And his USP, to try and bring this podcast back to marketing, his USP is that they are brightly coloured fluorescent whips. So like fluorescent purple, fluorescent blue and green, these huge whips. And I was like, wow.
Solid branding for whips.
Yeah. So if anyone listening to the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast, if you find yourself in a dungeon on all fours, about to get whipped, take a look behind you. If it's brightly coloured and fluorescent, you can think to yourself, that was probably made by the guy that serves coffee to the SaaS Marketing Weekly guys.
Yeah, facts.
That was the strangest segment I've ever done to intro the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast. But today we're talking about how to whip your LinkedIn ads into shape.
Oh, smooth.
I promise that was a true story, by the way. I didn't just say that story just to get that pun in there.
And I have met the guy, to be fair. So I just didn't know about the whips.
Yeah, well, you do now. Right, LinkedIn ads. We are talking about the creative side of LinkedIn ads. We're going to go through how to make an amazing LinkedIn ad creatively, the amount of like copywriting you should have on the creative, on the caption. We're going to do a kind of quick fire round with Jamie in terms of how he's going to score each of the different formats of ads that you can do, like video and single image and carousel, etc. And then we're also going to be talking about like what goes behind the ad, what goes after the click, because that's arguably the most important bit. It's all very well clicking an ad. You're not going to get a conversion if the thing afterwards doesn't convert. So we're going to go through all of that today. We are not going to go through like targeting and the budgeting and the kind of technical stuff. If you're interested in learning about that, you should go back to episode 63, 64, and 65, because we did like a 3-part mini series on all of that technical stuff. So yeah, tune back into those ones. But yeah, first of all, let's get into how to create a brilliant LinkedIn ad. But I should also say, this is not really just about LinkedIn ads. This can also apply to meta ads and any other platform where you're doing visual ads, which is for B2B SaaS, it's mainly going to be LinkedIn and Meta. But let's start before we start putting a pen to paper or mouse to Figma. Where do we? I mean, that's where a lot of people go wrong, is that they just try and start with the kind of creative, but and even, you shouldn't even really start with the messaging. You should really start with the research side of things, in terms of knowing what is going to make a high performing ad. So, Jamie, you've got some knowledge.
Yeah, so I think there's something really tactical that I wanted to share on this, in terms of like, I've spent a lot of my background, like I've been in DG teams for a long time, especially like paid media heavy teams, and had to create a lot of ads over the years. And one of the hardest things to do at times is, even when you do have really clear messaging about what you want to get to the market, coming up with interesting ways to frame that message so people take notice of the ad can be quite difficult. And I think the real gold lies behind being able to, if you can show behind your messaging, like every kind of SaaS platform knows what they want to communicate to the market, but if you can tap into like, what are the real situations that happen in an organization behind that message, and like, what is the real way that those people talk about that problem, like when they're internally having chats with colleagues or sending emails to people, like what's actually happening. If you can identify some of that stuff, that can be like absolute gold dust for creating a good ad. It's about kind of like illustrating a real scenario within the business to bring that message to life, basically.
In terms of like what is on their mind if they're about to consider working with a new SaaS platform, or if they're considering switching, or maybe they're not even thinking about the SaaS platform yet because they're not that far down the funnel. If they're just talking about the problem at a high level, that
might be like when your CMO, when a CEO, and you're marketing, good example, like your CEO is just on at you about attribution. Maybe you're like doing marketing for an attribution platform. Like the CEO is on at the marketing team about attribution, and there's going to be like things that happen in a business that's like lie behind that problem. Like for example, like you could do like, for example, the marketing team getting an email on a Monday saying that like they're behind on target. Because the CEO is only looking at last touch attribution. That's a real scenario that happens to like a lot of marketers. That's something that you can then take and think about, how do I translate that experience into an ad? And it's basically just thinking through different scenarios and real moments like that. And I've got like a tip in the moment, just kind of how we can get to that.
The best performing ad by far for my business, Rocket SaaS, is the ad that says, "Are you thinking of employing a new in-house marketer for £50,000 a year?" Something like that. I think it's a bit shorter and snappier than that. But it's something along those lines. Are you thinking of investing another 50k in an in-house marketer? You should consider Rocket SaaS instead. And then it goes into the reasons why. And that is by far our best performing ad. And we jump on all these sales calls and people literally call out that ad. And they say, we've been thinking about investing in a new marketer, whether it's their first marketer or their fifth marketer. We're thinking about bringing someone in-house. We've been having meetings about it. We've actually just put a job advert out last week about it. And then we saw your ads. And so, that was exactly what we were talking about, roughly the same budget that we were looking at. So we thought we'd book a call with you guys because you're an alternate solution. So yeah, it's all about trying to understand what your solution, what problem it solves, and try and put yourself in the mind of the decision makers. What conversations are they having in meetings, in board meetings? What frustrations are they having? What are they literally saying? Where a few more steps down the funnel is where you guys come in.
100%. Mindset, scenarios in the business, conversations, like all of those things are like, that's what you want to kind of really now. And like, so one way that's helped me to do this, and to be honest, is one of the brilliant things about AI now, is that it can really shortcut a lot of this kind of creative work in terms of like thinking through. But I did pinch this from, I think his name is Slow-Mo Genshin on LinkedIn. Very, very good.
I'm glad you actually pronounced that.
Yeah, I know, it's tough. But he's excellent. I would definitely recommend following him. He's just an ad guy on LinkedIn who's fantastic. But he basically has a prompt, very simple prompt. There's nothing particularly technical about this, by the way, guys. But essentially, to find those sorts of mindset scenarios, ways of talking about the problem and the message, basically, simple prompt, find real testimonials, reviews, or Reddit posts. And then from our example, from founders at SaaS startups describing the challenges, frustrations, relatable situations or pain points they experienced when they're experiencing this challenge. And you insert your challenge, basically. That's the exact prompt. And what it surfaces is just lots of different Reddit threads, forums, LinkedIn posts, testimonials, real buyers in the market talking about that exact problem in their own words and talking about like relatable situations like we talked about earlier, like getting an email or like frustrations they have and like how they feel about it, their mindset at the time. All of that stuff is super, super helpful for brainstorming ads. And I think that's a really good place to start.
Nice, love it. Well, a similar exercise, and what you just described there is kind of searching the internet for what people are saying. But even better than that, I would argue, is using your sales calls to do a very similar thing. So you should be recording all of your sales calls, all of your discovery calls, all of your book a demo calls. If you're not, please start doing it today. And another thing, SaaS companies are really bad when they're speaking to their customers of not actually asking them enough questions, of just doing a demo. A customer jumps on a call, you've never spoke to the customer yet, you do a demo, here's our features, here's our benefits, here's our solutions, answer a few questions, move on. But the AI is not soaking up enough information for marketing. So you need to be embedding questions about them. What are your challenges? What are your pain points? Why did you come to us now? What are the main features that you're interested in? What conversations have you been having that's kind of led you to book this call? That stuff is absolute gold for the marketing team. And then when you use something like Fathom or Otter or Fireflies, whatever, to record all of those calls, and then you load up a few calls, hopefully it doesn't take you long to get to 50, 100 calls, and you can start to download the transcripts, upload them into an LLM, and just basically use a very similar prompt that Jamie's just referenced. Please analyze these 100 discovery calls that we did with these clients. What are the most common pain points, challenges, concerns, desires, goals, etc., that is being said by our customers? And AI will just surface those answers for you. It'll give you, bullet points of the top 10 most common things mentioned. And that basically tells you what to create in your ads.
Yeah.
It couldn't be simpler than that. So like going back to my example of my best performing ad that performs brilliantly, it's not a coincidence that on a lot of our sales calls, when we ask them, like, okay, if you were not going to work with Rocket SaaS, what would you probably do? We'd probably hire someone in-house. Okay, how much does that cost you? Would probably cost about maybe 50 grand salary on a marketer. So then I create an ad that says exactly that of what they're thinking of doing. It gets a lot of clicks, gets a lot of engagement, works brilliantly. So yeah, 2 brilliant AI exercises there that you can do to kind of scour the internet of what people are saying. But even better, in my opinion, would be what your customers are saying. As long as they're like good fit ICP customers, you want to listen to what they're saying. So that's the research you want to start by doing before you start putting mouse to Figma, as I've coined it.
Yeah. And there's no excuse not to do it now. It used to be so much harder. You used to have to comb through like the internet or comb through sales calls to find all this stuff.
Yeah, most people wouldn't. Most people would just sit around and scratch their head and think, what is the best ad in my brain today?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, now you should really be using the data. The data is you almost cannot lose when you're doing exercises like that. Particularly the sales calls one, because that is what your prospects are literally telling you. So please create ads based on what they're telling you to create ads for. But like I said, you need to ask the right questions in the sales calls. So that is a brilliant exercise. Should we move on? Is there any more research stuff to do?
No, I think that's a pretty good start, to be honest. Like ultimately, like I think going back to the messaging point, like if your messaging is clear, then use the techniques that we just described to make it come to life. And I think that's a good place to go.
Cool. All right. Now let's talk about the different types of ads. I'm going to break it down: top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, before we go into that scoring system I talked to you about. We'll do that next. So one of the biggest mistakes that we see any business make, particularly B2B SaaS businesses, is they only invest in bottom of the funnel ads. So they only do ads. It's like, these are our features, these are our benefits, here's a screenshot of our platform, book a demo today. I rarely see that work. That only really works if there's like a lot of demand for this product, this type of solution. You need to already gather brand awareness. Most B2B SaaS startup scale-ups don't have massive brand awareness. Therefore, you need to be putting marketing into the top and the middle of the funnel. So let's talk about the top of the funnel ads. And I mean, well, Jamie, you're the expert, but generally speaking, with top of funnel ads, you're not, the goal isn't actually to get a conversion. Would I be right in saying that? You're not actually expecting to get demos. That's like a bonus. But really the job is to build brand awareness, build up that retargeting pool. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think in terms of when you start running more top of the funnel advertising, like the goal ultimately is to, one, get on their radar, like get yourself known. They can't buy you if they don't know you. That's kind of one point. The second thing is like you want to start building up the right associations between your business and ultimately the outcomes and the problems that you want to be known for. So essentially, like the way that we think about it is you want to be creating ads around things like, what is your point of view on the market? Like depending on kind of like on our business, for example, the way we think about marketing, we want people to know the way we think about marketing. So we use a lot of thought leadership ads on LinkedIn, for example, from Ryan's account, talking about his views on marketing, how you do it, sharing things like this podcast, ultimately our point of view on the market and where it's heading, and on marketing in general, B2B SaaS marketing more specifically, and for startups and scale-ups. That is really important for the market to know. That gets us on the radar, gets us noticed, gets us associated, and gets us remembered when they have a problem to be solved. And then on top of that, just more like content offers that can kind of like, again, keep us front of mind and give a good experience to the buyer so that we're associated with the right things.
Yeah, so for those that are new to LinkedIn ads, LinkedIn thought leader ads is different to LinkedIn company ads. You've got LinkedIn company ads, which is the ones that you're used to, or a brand will do an ad. LinkedIn thought leader ads is relatively new, I think it came out a couple of years ago, is when you can essentially boost a post by an individual. And it's not just boosting it like you can on Meta, where it just goes into your friends of friends or whatever. You can boost it to specific people. You say only boost this to CEOs of this company headcount, of this industry, at this location. So set the same as the normal LinkedIn ads. So yeah, thought leader ads. We're going to come back to that a little bit later, but they are brilliant at the top of the funnel. They're lower cost than LinkedIn company ads, and they just have like multiple benefits, because it's not just an ad that could get you a click and a conversion. It's also a connection request. If the founder's doing it, the founder's going to get more connections, more followers. And on LinkedIn, people buy from people. People don't buy from logos, that old saying. So that's a real massive benefit. And also with company ads, it's quite hard to sort of tell a narrative. Like with company ads, you can't do a big old long text post. You can only really do videos and carousels and image ads. So if you want to tell a story, if you want to do like build in public type posts, they often do quite well.
That's what really works as well for from your profile, and we boost them. Some of the building public stuff, like again, that complements the point of view stuff. The building public stuff really works well.
Yeah, building public stuff, but particularly like everyone's building at the moment with AI, and everyone's kind of learning and failing and seeing what's working, and sharing those insights and those posts from a founder, from a human being, often perform really, really well, because other people can kind of relate to those like struggles. Some of our best performing top of funnel posts from my personal brand have been the growth posts that we've done, just sort of saying how fast we're growing as a business, how fast we're growing as an agency, like showing the growth graph of the MRR.
Biggest lessons from it as well.
Yeah, and like the lessons from it, the wins, the challenges. It gathers interest. People get quite interested in that kind of thing. Think, oh, that. Maybe if they've never heard of us before, they go, oh, that brand's absolutely flying. I've not heard of this agency before. I'm just intrigued, basically, to check them out. And the same applies to B2B SaaS companies. If if there's one of your prospects that's with another provider and they've never heard of you before, and they see that you're growing and you're like coming into the space and you're having a lot of growth, you're getting a lot of new subscribers, or introducing some really new features or whatever, doing something impressive, you want to check them out. Okay, there's a new player in this space. So I'm at least going to check them out, which is like the first thing in the funnel. They need that kind of brand awareness, like looking into. So those sorts of posts do really, really well. And then other stuff at the top of the funnel is often backed by an asset. Like top of the funnel post is not, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but it shouldn't really be going to a landing page just purely focused on getting a conversion. It should be generally promoting something like thought leadership, essentially, blogs, webinars, research pieces. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think particularly like overall, like a large sway of your focus is going to be at top of the funnel on delivering, especially in B2B, because we don't do like big brand campaigns like as a startup. We're not going to be doing that like an Apple or something. Essentially what we're doing is we're using content to get on people's radars and to make them get the right information to those buyers so that they can consider us later. That's essentially what we're doing for those people who aren't ready to buy. So content offers, point of view posts, building in public, all of those things are going to be the easiest way to get on the radar, give a good experience to the buyer, and get the right information to the buyer. And that's the primary goal. And whether you do that gated or ungated, people do different things for different reasons, because maybe sometimes you're running like an MQL model where you've got a sales team calling content leads. That's just might be something in your business. Ultimately, the goal should still be, what is the right information for this content to get to the buyer that we know will lead to a positive result later? Yeah,
the way that I've always thought about top of the funnel is I create content to help people solve the same problem that my company helps them solve, but I create content to help them solve it on their own, right? So it's because that's the typical buyer journey. That's like the psychology of buying, is when you face a problem in your business, the first thing you think is, I'm going to try and solve this on my own, or I'm at least going to try and figure out what this problem is and how I need to approach. I'll probably end up buying a software at some point, but first of all, I need to get my ducks in a row and figure out what this challenge is. Need to do a little bit of research into it. So if you create content, just helping them, guiding them, this is how you learn about this problem, this challenge, this new regulation that's coming in, this compliance thing, this challenge, this attribution, this annoying data point that you can't get. This is how you do it on your own. So this podcast is the ultimate example of that. We're nearly up to 100 episodes now. Every single episode is us teaching you how to do stuff on your own. And there's also a newsletter. There's also blogs. There's also my personal LinkedIn. There's what else are we doing? The videos as well. And all of that stuff's being pumped by ads. And that is all top of the funnel. So we're just helping thousands, tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of businesses and people solve these problems on their own. And that creates a very wide top of the funnel, and people are in the funnel. Just because they haven't submitted their email address on any form, they're in the funnel because they know who we are. And then there's going to be a huge number of those people that are never going to go on and work with us, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. But there's going to be a decent percentage of people that, whether it's now or whether it's in 12 months' time, they're going to have the budget, and they're going to think, well, I've been following those guys. They've taught me so much. I'm going to work with them. Or maybe they move jobs and the new company's got budget to work with us. So that's how I always think of top of funnel. And all of that stuff needs to be boosted with ads. And if your CEO tells you that he or she doesn't want to boost top of funnel with ads because there's no conversions, then tell him or her that they are wrong, because you need budget at the top of the funnel. But let's move on. Middle of the funnel. So this is super important. I've seen so many of our clients get a lot of leads at the middle of the funnel stage, not the bottom of the funnel. And the way I look at middle of the funnel is case studies, testimonials, and lead magnets, essentially. So yeah, testimonials and case studies can work really, really well. And yeah, when you're creating case studies and testimonials, you should be putting ad budget into it. A lot of people think with case studies and testimonials that you just stick it on the website and let the website visitors see it. No, you need to be ensuring that all of your prospects are seeing these case studies and testimonials. So creating ads for single image ads, videos would be great if you can interview your happy customers, all forms of ads and hitting your audience. And it doesn't necessarily have to be even in the retargeting. I used to think like that. Jamie taught me otherwise. Case study, testimonial ads can actually do well even to a cold audience, particularly I find with our clients to enterprise buyers, because enterprise buyers, sometimes the old top of the funnel stuff, they haven't got time and they're not interested. But when they see another enterprise client working with you, that kind of makes their eyebrow go up and they're like, oh, okay, well, these guys are working with our biggest competitor or that massive brand that I'm aware of. I'm intrigued. I'm going to check these guys out. So that alone can often work really, really well. But yeah, any other? Yeah,
the only things that I'd add really is like in terms of like really thinking about how you can make other great middle of funnel ads. It will depend on your market and what kind of information your buyers need to know. But the other things is really just any other gaps that you can fill that like ultimately the middle of the funnel is like they're considering maybe working with you is the way we're looking at it. That's the people who we want to reach, people who are considering working with you. So essentially, beyond kind of social proof and things that Ryan just touched on, comparison content. If you're in a really crowded market, like you need to be shaping the perception of you versus all of the other big players in your space. Like that's really important. Comparison content's a big one, competitor comparison. Other than that, I think like looking at different angles, like cost of inaction, like trying to get people moving faster. Like what actually does it look like if they don't press forward with working someone like you or you directly? Cost of inaction, competitor comparison. The other one that I'd say as well that can be helpful, especially for SaaS, is actual real, this was something we used when I was at Cognizant and it was really, really helpful, actual real day-to-day workflows with the product ads. So essentially like spelling out really like niche workflows so that they can picture how they use it day-to-day. And then linking that back to like, in particular, the ad would go to like a workflow style page. That was really good. So it was like step 1, step 2, step 3. So like, for example, like for Cognizant, I'll give just to illuminate it a bit. Like we did an ad that was how you could target like niche job titles on LinkedIn ads with Cognizant. So like RevOps is a really hard title, or was, to target on LinkedIn, but using Cognizant data, you could do that. And essentially we target marketers with that ad. But essentially you can kind of start to see if you start serving lots of different types of like use case specific ads and workflows, if someone's in the middle of the funnel, maybe they understand what value you bring, but they don't know exactly how they use it day to day. So all of those things, any gaps that you can fill in their knowledge, that's how you start creating like a real nice mix of ads. And I think above and beyond some of the good ones you just said, those are the other ones I'd consider.
Yeah, nice. All right, let's move on to the bottom of the funnel, which should be relatively straightforward, I suppose, which is showing off your features, your benefits. What else?
Just having a great offer.
Having a great offer.
Yeah, having a great offer. That's a big one, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked on one of the previous episodes with Sam. We talked about how to have a really strong offer in terms of not necessarily always book a demo. Could be a free consultation, a free audit, a free strategy call. That kind of thing can work particularly well. But yeah, I don't think we need to dwell too much on the bottom of the funnel ads because
I'd just say that the offer is everything at the bottom of the funnel. The offer is literally everything. Like ultimately, we're trying to get people into a meeting or some sort of meaningful sales engagement. So I would also say that if you have the scope, like try and, especially if you're struggling for leads, go above and beyond and make something that's unscalable at first if you have to. Like, for example, like there's something that I think at enterprise works really well is like partnering with an influencer, spending some money with them to offer like one-to-one training to your big accounts. That's the kind of thing I think what teams should be thinking about for things like this. Is like, if you want to make a great offer, don't need to go that far sometimes. It's a big enterprise sort of play, but like think big if you're struggling for leads and think about the offer primarily at the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah, I mean, not particularly scalable, but yeah, when I was struggling for leads, I offered a one-on-one strategy call with me, the founder. We ironically still do that, but I've just made sure that I don't have to do other stuff in the business so I can still do that. And that, yeah, and the reason I haven't dropped it, despite it not being overly scalable, is because it is so effective still. So yeah, one-on-one free consultation strategy calls, they do work particularly well, only if you're like relatively high ticket, I would say. Right, let's move on. Let's have a little bit of fun. Let's talk about the different formats of ads that you can do, the videos and images and carousels, all those things. I'm going to list them. So I'm going to call out one of them. You're going to give it a score out of 10.
Nice.
In terms of what you just generally think that format deserves.
Comment section's going to light up with this.
You are not allowed to say, it depends. You have to say a number, and then you just give a relatively short answer as to why you think that is or isn't a decent format for ads. So first of all, video ads.
Video ads. 8 out of 10. Very strong format. Love video ads, especially for if you're trying to get a message consumed. Much more space to get like a more complicated message consumed, especially when you're like working with like multiple products in your business, stuff like that. Video works incredibly well about getting the message out there. Video is harder though. I would say video is a lot harder. You need a good editor. You need to have good fundamentals in terms of like your messaging, and you just need to be strong on creative. So it's harder, but when it's nailed, excellent format.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you're factoring time and cost, maybe that score of 8 drops quite significantly. But let's not complicate things. Next up, carousel ads.
Carousel 3. 3 out of 10. Completely rubbish. I mean, I'll say that like people obviously test things all the time, so I'm sure it's working for a lot of people. I haven't used them for a while. I just think that there's better formats. Essentially, it's a scrolling ad format on LinkedIn, where you can go through like multiple tiles of like ads. I think document ads are much better. I think they get better engagement. I think they get better, just better results in general, in my experience. And I think carousel ads can be more limiting because it's square tile versus document, and it's the same principle.
Yeah, I agree. Too many clicks.
Yeah.
You know, carousel. I don't want to click 10 times to consume the thing. Give it to me in a shorter format. Okay.
3 out of 10.
Next up, conversation ads.
Conversation ads. I am going to give a. I'm going to give a 7 out of 10. I give a 7 out of 10. So I found that they can be incredibly effective, especially at the bottom of the funnel. They are much more direct. They allow for a richer conversation to like get someone into like a meeting, for example.
Sorry, I should probably carry it. For some people that don't know what they are, it's not the traditional thing you see in the feed. It's literally sending someone a DM, isn't it?
Yeah, so essentially the way it works is imagine you get like a message in your inbox in LinkedIn. You get a message in inbox, there'll be like 2 or 3 buttons underneath that message saying like book a demo or tell me more or another option. When you click on those buttons, either you'll be taken, like book a demo, for example, taken to their landing page to book a demo, or it could, like when you say tell me more, for example, you get another message that's automated from that same person. It's normally as well, conversation ad comes from someone in the business. So imagine like for Ryan, if we sent a conversation ad for Rocket SaaS, it would come from Ryan, it would land on your inbox. You'd get a message from Ryan with multiple buttons, with multiple paths to pick from. Very good at the bottom of the funnel.
Okay, so it's like, would you like to learn more? Would you like me to send you a case study? Would you like to book a demo?
Lots of, it's up to you, really. It's
All
kind
right.
of, yeah.
Well, I'm surprised you gave it a 7. I would have probably given it a bit lower. Like, nobody likes those DM bot messages.
Disagree. Hard disagree.
Well,
Disagree.
sounds like another episode there.
Yeah.
It's meant to be quick fire, so we've got to move on.
Move on.
Thought leader ads.
Thought leader, 10 out of 10.
Ooh!
Absolutely made for LinkedIn, native to the platform, looks like a normal post.
Cheaper.
Gets better engagement. People buy from people in B2B. It gets the founder out there, particularly in this space. I just think they're excellent format, basically.
Yeah, well, I do agree with that. Yeah, Thought Leader Ads has probably generated millions of revenue for Rocket SaaS. So, yeah, love it. All right.
Cool.
And finally, last but by no means least, single image ads.
Single image ad. I'm going to give the single image ad I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for its versatility. A lot of people don't like single image ads. I've seen some blowback on single image ads, people saying it's a limited format and there's better formats for distribution and delivery, etc. I just think the single image ad is easy to produce, cost effective, quick, gets the message out there, can be used across the funnel in lots of different ways. And a single image ad is the staple. And I have got lots of great results with single image ads. So I am saying 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd go even higher than that. Single image ads. Again, marketing all comes back to psychology. It's like if you're scrolling through something, you got to stop the scroll. You know, this isn't Google ads where people are looking for stuff. This is LinkedIn ads where people, you have to stop that scroll. And the quickest way to do it is, that's why you rated carousel ads so badly, is because it doesn't really stop the scroll. It's like, I'll stop the scroll, but I'm not clicking 10 times. A single image ad is just like, it's right there. It's scroll stopping. Yeah. It also forces you as a marketer, copywriter, designer to get the message across in just a few words, which we're going to actually come on to in a minute. And that's just the most effective way of doing ads is capturing people really, really quickly. I mean, the best performing ads at Rocket SaaS is Thought Leader ads and single image ads.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, no, I think they're the best too. Yeah. But thank you for that. That was a fun format. I think I'll have to do that again.
Yeah.
But let's move on now to the actual creative. We still haven't actually got onto the creative. I keep saying put mouse to Figma. I'm in it now. So, tips on how to design a great ad. Now, obviously, this sort of comes back to different formats, but let's stick to the most common format, which is the single image ad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, rules that I generally follow are it's kind of good news from a design point of view, is the overly creative ones don't perform well. Like simplicity in terms of design, nothing too fancy, not too much stuff going on and icons flying around the place and loads of different platform graphics and loads of words and bullet points all over it. That's not scroll stopping, because as you get to the scroll, your brain goes, ugh, there's a lot going on here. That's going to take me at least 2 seconds to digest. I'm moving on. Whereas the really simple ads that is just often plain background with just a big statement header with even no graphics, that can perform really well. So the rule that I always follow, 10 words or less on the big header. And often don't even use a subheader, just have 10 words or less, and then a relatively non-creative graphic that goes with it. That's generally the two sort of main rules that I generally follow. Do you have any other rules for creatives?
I would say my main rule is I would follow what you just said in terms of either make them incredibly clear and very, like you mentioned, the heading is very big, bold, clear, and relevant to the person reading it, with a graphic that complements that. Focus on clarity. If you are going to go with a more creative ad, what I would say is it's got to be good and don't overcomplicate it. It needs to be, there's certain formats that if you're going to be a bit more like creative with it, you can follow. But I would say that the healthiest way to approach it is like make sure that you test always. There's clear ads, and then maybe you can try a couple of different concepts just to test in the ad account. But that would be my role.
Yeah, and if you are going to be at the bottom of the funnel, you're going to be showing off your platform, your UI, please don't copy and paste a screenshot of your UI onto the ads unless it's a really stunning UI. The worst ads are the ones where you can just see the platform, but you can't really see the platform. Like the font is too small on half of the buttons and icons and things. give your platform screenshots to a designer and get them to redesign the UI for the ad, which basically means stripping out a lot of the detail, pumping up the font size, giving it a little bit of a lift, just so that people can see it and within milliseconds go, okay, I get what this platform does. So yeah, at the bottom of the funnel, I would definitely do that. Also, final thing from me, fight the feed. So has LinkedIn got a dark mode? I don't think it does it?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Twitter's got a dark mode. But anyway, I don't think LinkedIn has a dark mode. So LinkedIn is white, mainly. It's got a white background. As you're scrolling through it, it's white. So if you've got an ad that's got a white background, it doesn't really stand out very well. So I'm not saying you shouldn't create a mix, and it's a good, interesting thing to do A/B testing of. But our best performing ads are when we have dark backgrounds. So our brand colors, we have white in it, but we also have dark purple and orange and a pinky color to it. It's those ads with those backgrounds that actually jump out more on this big white canvas. So not too much of a hard and fast rule, but yeah, I mean, I would always mix it up with the colors and see what's working.
Contrast is very important, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Contrast is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. Quick one on caption, which is the text that goes above the ad. General rules of thumb is you want to make this short and snappy, not long paragraphs. Remember that people are not going to see the whole thing until they press the read more button. So you want the first 92 characters to be the hook, because that's where it cuts off on mobile, is 92 characters. You get a bit longer on desktop, but you really want to be optimizing for mobile, because probably most of your prospects are going to be on mobile on LinkedIn. So yeah, 92 characters has to have a hook, and then the rest of it should just be short sentences that are just easy to digest. That's generally the tips. Hashtags, don't think they work anymore today.
I know. One thing I'd actually add that's an interesting way to think about LinkedIn ads, and I think a lot of non-marketing people wouldn't know this, and I think it's important when you're reviewing ads. The way that people read LinkedIn ads, typically, not always, but typically, is they will read the creative first, and then if you look at a LinkedIn ad, there'll be a call to action underneath it, like a link with some wording on it. They'll go creative, the wording in the link with the CTA, and then they'll go to the caption. So I would always say as well that like what you ideally want from the caption is something that's like additive to the creative. So it's not just the same, like what I see a lot of is like creative headline and then the caption says the exact same thing. That doesn't really add much to the ad. It doesn't move anyone forward. So you want to add beyond that, because that's kind of the pattern of people, how will they read, which I think is a good way to look at an ad.
All right, let's talk about different ad styles, I guess you would call this. Not formats, but more like styles. So, for example, something that's been talked about a lot over the last probably like year or so, maybe, ads that don't look like ads. Some of you may have heard that expression before. And yeah, I've seen them work particularly well for B2B SaaS companies, for us. So, like a screenshot of a mock Slack message or Teams message or even a WhatsApp message of like, we created an ad that performed particularly well for one of our construction SaaS clients, which is like a mock WhatsApp message of a couple of people on site complaining about some drawings that weren't sent, and Dave thought he had the right drawing, but it was version 2, not version 2.e. And then someone said, oh, we should really get this construction SaaS software because that will just sort out all of our problems. And it's just kind of scroll stopping. When you see a WhatsApp message on your LinkedIn, you're like, oh, be a bit nosy here. I'm going to see the private lives of someone's WhatsApp. Oh no, it's just an ad. But it can still work. Same thing can work with Slack messages, Teams, and generally ads that don't look like ads. But memes as well can often do well. I'd be a bit careful with memes, because memes can get a lot of engagement in terms of a lot of likes and a lot of comments from people that find it funny and want to add their own humorous comment. But we're talking about pipeline and revenue on this podcast.
Ryan, I'm going to hard disagree. I don't know if you're going to kick this in or not, but I'm going to hard disagree on that.
We're keeping it in.
Yeah, I have seen... so I do agree. I thought you hard disagreed. No, I agree on that we don't want to create memes for the sake of creating memes, which that's not helpful. However, I have seen meme ads in particular, when they illustrate the problem in an ad, they are incredibly effective at drawing attention to the ad. And it can be some of the highest pipeline revenue generating ads that I've seen have been started by meme. Like a good example actually would be Adam Holmgren at Fibler. most of his ads are memes, and he talks about it constantly. Most of the business that he drives from ads tends to be the Fibbler mascot head put on a person in a meme. So, for example, have you ever seen a meme of Jason Momoa coming up behind someone?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's literally, the meme is like him, it's like CEO with Jason Momoa, and then CMO with the Fibbler head on, and it's just him approaching from the back. And he's literally saying, I didn't expect to get much out of this ad. This ad literally drives most of my pipe. And so what I'd say is like, if you can draw a problem with a meme that the buyer's experiencing related to your product, and then illustrate with the caption and the CTA about how you solve that problem, then it becomes a really, really powerful ad. So I think it all depends on what you're trying to do with the meme. If you're trying to make people laugh, then yeah, no. If you're trying to draw attention to a problem in a smart way, I think it can be really powerful.
We have a good performing ads. We have a little toddler in a octopus outfit.
Yeah, that's a good example.
The toddler's head is just sticking out of this octopus, and the poor toddler's crying. I can't believe a crying baby is one of our top performing ads. But yeah, this poor toddler's in this octopus outfit crying, and then obviously the 8 legs of the octopus, and then on each of the 8 legs is a different marketing function, like blogs, events, newsletters, demand generation, etc. And the baby's crying, and the caption is this you? Are you a solo solo SaaS marketer? Yeah. And it does perfectly articulate the pain point of our ICP. A lot of our clients, a lot of our smaller clients, have only got one person in marketing, and they are an octopus. They're expected by their CEO to do 8 different, quite significant marketing functions, and they are not an octopus. They've only got 2 hands, and they're crying because they can't do it. So it's just very relatable. It makes people laugh. It gets a lot of likes, and it does that thing we talked about earlier, just like getting on the radar, and then don't be surprised when a lot of people check you out, and then you can retarget them, etc. So yeah, memes work well.
Be careful.
I'm happy for you to disagree with me. Anything else in terms of formats?
No, I'll tell you that just general advice, like to create great ads, especially if you have to create them at speed, is like you don't need to start from a blank canvas. Like what we just talked about. Start with concepts. You can find them on the LinkedIn ad library. You can find them on swipe files. You can find them all over the place now. Adfolio is a really good resource. Sexy ads from Joseph Hill, really good resource. Find proven concepts that work, whether that's meme ads, whether that's us versus them before and after, UI inspired kind of ads where you're like, what tools do that people use day to day, like WhatsApp for construction or Slack for a marketer, whatever, and create ads based on those concepts. Like start from there, like what concepts that work in that space. Start from there and just build all that stuff we talked about earlier, like all of the insights from the AI earlier. Take the insight from the AI, apply it to a concept, apply it across lots of different concepts, test them, but please always have simple ads alongside them. Don't just go like mad creative. Have simple ads. You can circle in some creative ads, test what works. But I always find that often simple ads outperform some of the creative ones. It all depends.
Okay. Now, I want this episode to be mainly focused on the actual ads itself, so we won't spend too much time on this. But an ad, I think I mentioned this at the start, is no good if the thing that happens after you click on the ad doesn't convert. So that is either going to be a landing page, it's either going to be an asset that you ask people to download, or something that you're getting people to sign up for. So often I see so many companies complain about ads, whether it's LinkedIn ads, Google ads, Meta ads, it doesn't work for us. But actually, it probably would have worked if you had a decent landing page asset to kind of go with it. Like I said, I don't want to dwell on this too much, but anything you want to kind of share around that?
Yeah, this would be my most counterintuitive advice for ads. Is the best ads that I've ever produced probably weren't the best written ads or the best designed ads. They were the ads that were good enough, but they had a really good asset or offer behind them. Like, I'll point to an example just from Cognizant, my old job. So we had The Diary of a CMO, which was a book that Alice had written, our CMO. It was like covering her growth story at Cognizant from like 5 million to 40 million, 62 chapters, loads in it. It's very easy to create an ad about that. There's a lot of material. I can write an ad about a book like that and make it sound sexy without even putting too much effort into the actual creative. Whereas if you give me like a really dry checklist from that I could just get on ChatGPT, for example, about B2B data.
Or a blog.
Yeah, just a standard blog. Yeah, like 5 steps to whatever. Like those two things, I could write the best ad ever for the blog, but people might not just be interested in the blog. They might even like see the ad and be, that's a good ad, but they might not click through and look at the blog, which is what we wanted, because it just didn't care. So I think that's an important thing to bear in mind, is like, if you're struggling to get attention, you think your ads are good, probably what you've got behind it people aren't interested in. That would be my main thing.
Yeah, fair enough. And then, the more bottom funnel conversion ones is about the landing page. Really, I've seen so many great ads leading to terrible websites or terrible landing pages with terrible messaging and terrible calls to action and lack of social proof. So yeah, don't stop at the ad. Make sure that your landing pages are completely optimized. And like Jamie said, create a really strong asset. We did an episode in the podcast, I forget the number of it now, about how it's actually really beneficial if you're struggling with ads to just turn off the ad spend for maybe a month, maybe 2 months, and invest that budget into content. So if you're spending, $2,000 a month on LinkedIn ads, if you decide to turn them off for a couple of months because it's not getting any results, you've got nothing to lose, but you've just saved $4,000 in budget. Take that $4,000 in budget, rent a studio like this podcast studio, create some content there, invest in an original research piece like the book that Jamie just mentioned. Create really good assets, maybe invest in a influencer, pay them $1,000 to appear as a guest on your upcoming upcoming webinar, and then turn the ads back on. And you've got all these really slick new assets that are going to make the ads perform better. So that's another thing to consider as well. But let's wrap it up today. That was fun. I enjoyed that. We're going to do, I think, the quickfire format again.
Yeah, let's bring that back. I like that.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening to SaaS Marketing Weekly Podcast. If you want help with your LinkedIn ads, Jamie's your man. I'm clearly not. Perhaps I've learned today. But yeah, if you want help with your LinkedIn ads, if you're looking for a new agency to do your LinkedIn ads for you, that is what Rocket SaaS does for businesses, among other things. We do demand generation strategy, content, managing ad platforms, websites, CRO, essentially become an extension of your marketing team. If you don't have a marketing team, we will become the marketing team. So if you're interested in us really helping you scale your brand with LinkedIn ads, go to rocket-sas.io and apply for a free SaaS marketing strategy call with myself. Look forward to seeing you there. If not, see you next week on the SaaS Marketing Weekly Podcast.